What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today, well, we already need to do a little bit of an update about Gamora. You see, ladies and gentlemen, nothing untoward happened yesterday. You see, yesterday we saw the leak reveal, call it what you will, of Gamora. So I went and made a video, and I edited the video, and I rendered the video, and I set the video uploading, and then I went and put my kids to bed. And then I came back from putting my kids to bed, I checked the news, and it turns out my video had uploaded, and literally like 10-15 minutes before my video had actually gone live, FFG had gone and dropped an official reveal article. So essentially what had happened was, Asmodee had jumped to the gun a little bit, putting the pre-order up. Well, one of two things had happened. Either Asmodee put the pre-order up early and Fantasy Flight Games went, no, that was too early, and went to get the reveal article up faster than they were going to, or they were always planning to put it up yesterday, and essentially Asmodee jumped the gun and put it up a little bit faster than they were supposed to. Either way, we've got more information about Gamora now, and we've got some specific answers to some of the questions we asked in yesterday's video. Honestly, the three biggest questions I had are all answered, so let's go and take a look at Gamora. Now, the first thing to point out, this has actually been confirmed now for a May release. Now, that's interesting, of course, because Star-Lord is also scheduled for a May release. That's why I suggested this was going to be a June release in yesterday's video. But it turns out FFG are dropping two members of the Guardians of the Galaxy both in May. Do remember that with the pandemic, the release schedule has been messed up a little bit. We are slightly behind where we were expecting to be at this stage. So 2 heroes in 1 month does make sense in terms of FFG trying to catch up. And as someone who last week got both Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in the post, I am down for getting 2 heroes together. So we've got a May release, not a June release, which means presumably Drax is coming in June. Not official, but come on, it's blatantly happening. So taking a look at Gamora, if we start off with the alter ego, remember, we don't have kind of different names here like we do on the Avengers, it's just Gamora in hero and alter ego. We got recovery of 3, hand size of 6, hit points of 10. These are very standard stats that we would expect to see. But you've got the skilled tactician. You may include up to 6 attack and or thwart events in your deck from aspects other than your chosen aspect. This was one of the big questions we had in yesterday's video, which I will of course link in the description. How many attack and thwart events can you play? 6. Now that is 6 in total, so it can be 6 attack, 6 thwart, 3 of each, a 4-2 split, or a 5-1 split, or none if you really wanted to. So that is all well and good. But what it essentially allows you to do is it really opens up your deck building. Because if you build a deck, and it's an aggression deck, and remember, Gamora is aggression out of the box, we were told that yesterday. If you build an aggression deck, you may well find that you're doing lots of damage, but you're not quite good enough at removing threat, so whack a few thwart events in from other aspects, probably justice, to help cover you. I adore this. There's also an action that lets you look at the top card of your deck, and if it is an attack or thwart event, you draw it. Limit to once per round. And like I said in yesterday's video, this might be an upgrade, it might be an ally, it's not always going to fire, but a lot of the time it is going to fire, and it's just going to let you draw 1. And either it's an event that you want to play, in which case brilliant, or it's an event you don't want to play and you use that as a resource to play a card you do want to play, in which case brilliant. So yeah, this sounds really good. We've seen a bunch of heroes that have draw skills in alter ego mode, and it's always a nice thing. But as we go into hero mode here, we got 2 thwart, 2 attack, 2 defense. Remember yesterday we were told that the gimmick of Gamora, so to speak, is balance. It is about being able to do everything. So we see that there's 2 skills here. When you play an attack event, you limit 1 threat from a scheme of your choosing, and when you play a thwart event, you deal 1 damage to an enemy of your choosing. And I adore this skill, because a lot of the time, yeah, you want to do one of 2 things, right? You either want to damage or you want to thwart. I know there are exceptions. Let's just roll with this for the moment. But a lot of the time I want to do damage, but I really want to take just like 1 or 2 threat off the scheme to protect myself. Or I want to finish off a side scheme while attacking the villain. Or I need to thwart so I don't lose the game, but there's a minion I really want to try and get off the field, and I don't need to do much damage, but I just need to ping a little bit of damage. That's where this comes in so beautifully. I like these skills. Because I find a lot of heroes on a lot of decks, you end up being really good at attacking but not so good at thwarting, or the other way round. This isn't perfect at both. You know, if it was perfect at both, you would have a broken deck, and if it's too easy, it's not going to be fun. But I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, Gamora, oh, the options here, the options. Just that little bit of thwart, that little ping of damage can be so gosh darn good. So yeah, you can put extra attack and thwart events from other aspects into your deck. You do a bit of damage when you play a thwart event. You get rid of a bit of threat when you play an attack event. I like the idea of Gamora. This sounds really fun to me. The good news is we do have a bunch of extra information that really starts showing how Gamora's going to play. So we've got the card here, Keen Instincts. It is a 1-cost upgrade, and you may exhaust it to generate an any type resource for an attack or thwart event. And then we've got Impede, a 2-cost justice event that lets you remove free threat from a scheme, which is quite nice, or from the main scheme. But if it's the first card you played this round, you return it to your hand. So you can either play it a second time, or you can use it as a science resource to play for a different card. So Impede essentially becomes a 1-cost event that removes free threat from the main scheme. And it might be a justice card, but it is a thwart event. Ergo, it can be put as one of your 6 into Gamora's deck, which is kind of awesome. We can then look at the 2-cost event, Decisive Blow. It deals 4 damage to an enemy, but 7 if you played a thwart event this turn. So if you put the 3 of these together, and this was suggested in the reveal article, which I very much appreciate, Keen Instincts lets you play Impede as a 1-cost event, but let's face it, because it goes back to your hand, it essentially becomes a 0-cost event. You remove free threat, but remember, when you remove free threat, Precision will kick in and deal a damage. You then go ahead and play Decisive Blow. Because you played a thwart event, you'll then do 7 damage. But of course, you will also remove a threat from a scheme with Finesse. So what you've essentially done here is you've paid kind of 2 resources, really, and you've done 8 damage and removed 4 threat. Like, I cannot be the only one that thinks that sounds amazing. You've essentially paid 2 resources here. And of course, you'll notice we haven't even used thwart or attack. We haven't used a basic hero skill yet to go with it. This looks really, really fun. We were shown Hit and Run, a 3-cost basic event that deals 2 damage to an enemy and removes 2 threat from a scheme, which is nice. But it's also an attack and a thwart event, which means it will activate both Finesse and Precision. So if you're in hero mode when you play this, it's not really dealing 2 damage to an enemy and 2 threat from a scheme. It is 2 damage to an enemy plus 1 extra damage anywhere you like, and 2 threat from a scheme plus 1 other threat from anywhere you like. And the fact that you are using your skills to do the 3rd damage and the 3rd threat removal means that it can actually be done to a different enemy or a different scheme from a different scheme, and that is huge. And this is what we were talking about with Gamora and the fact that she does everything. She's not there to try and take all of the threat off the board. She's not there to do a huge amount of damage. She is there to both damage and remove threat. And certainly the cards we've seen so far show that there are some really good ways to go about doing so. Now, we've also seen First Hit, a 1-cost protection event, but it is an attack event, so again, can absolutely go into her deck. Hero Action, deal 2 damage to the villain. Hero Interrupt, when a minion initiates an attack, deal 2 damage to that minion. So essentially here you can come along and choose one or the other. And of course, it's a fun example of a card that will trigger during the villain phase, which is always quite nice. We've also seen Cross Counter, a 1-cost event, which is attack and defense and thwart, which of course means that it will activate both precision and finesse here as well, which is pretty gosh darned lovely. And when you would take any amount of damage, you prevent 3 of it, deal 1 damage to an enemy, remove 1 threat from a scheme. But remember, you've got to be in hero mode to play this card. And I did mention this with Hit and Run before, but of course you will be in hero mode because it's a hero action. You have to be in hero mode. So what you're really doing here for 1 cost is when you would take any amount of damage, you prevent 3 of it, deal 2 damage, but they can go to different places, and remove 2 threat, but they can go from different places. Tell me that doesn't sound amazing. You'll also notice that Gamora's skills, finesse and precision, are limited to once per phase, not once per round, so you can activate each of them during your hero phase, and then you can activate them during the villain phase as well, which seems a little bit dumb, but dumb good. Oh yeah, and you can also, for 0 cost, play Plan of Attack that lets you search the top 4 cards of your deck, 7 if you're in Alter Ego form. Bearing in mind, Alter Ego form also gives you an option to almost always draw a card, which is pretty sweet. And then from the top 4 or 7 cards, you can grab an attack event and add that card to your hand. Bearing in mind, we've already seen a couple events which count as both attack and thwart. So you can search out an attack event, which will also do some thwarting as well. So yeah, we've got some good options for playing cards cheaply, some good options to search out the perfect card you want, and cards that can really do lots of good stuff all in one go. If you find yourself being overwhelmed by both damage and threat, maybe Gamora's the woman for you. Now, we did talk yesterday about the fact that Nebula was both your ally, your signature ally, and your nemesis minion, and I wondered how that was going to work in terms of, well, you're not allowed 2 characters with the same name on the field, like a hero and an ally, for instance. How is that going to work? Well, we have our answer. As an ally, you're a 2 cost to play, 2 health, which is cheap but fine. You're kind of glass cannon-y. 2 thwart taking a damage, 2 attack taking a damage. It's fine. She's good, but with 2 health, she's not going to last long. But then again, with 2 costs, it's not too bad. But after Nebula enters play, you may search your deck for an attack or thwart event and add it to your hand. So if you thought Plan of Attack was going to be a good option for getting the right card in your hand, well, Nebula's even better, which is kind of ridiculous. We've then got Nebula as a minion, 1 scheme, 2 attack, 5 health. None of that is particularly worrying at all. Seems like a fairly low-key minion. Oh yeah, but she's got Retaliate 2. So when you attack her, you take 2 damage back. We don't see Retaliate 2 very much in Marvel Champions, because Retaliate 2 is brutal. That is 20% of your health gone when you attack her. So try and knock her out in 1 hit, would ya? Oh yeah, and there's also a Forced Interrupt. When this minion would enter play, discard the Nebula ally from play. So I told you I didn't know what was going to happen in terms of how can you possibly have both of them in play at the same time. Well, it's a moot point. They never will be in play at the same time, because when Nebula Minion comes out, Nebula Ally goes away, which I think this is a really nice solution, honestly. This also makes me feel better about the fact that we are only paying 2 costs to play Nebula. Because if Nebula was like a 5 cost ally, there would inevitably be games where I would pay 5 costs to play her, and then Nebula Minion would come out and get rid of her when I'd only used her once, and that would actually make me really sad. Now, quick roundup from yesterday. There was one other card that we didn't see yesterday. It was Gamora's Sword. It is a 3 cost restricted upgrade, but we don't know much about it, so we're not going to go into detail. The one card we did see yesterday was Sibling Rivalry, the side scheme. It comes in with 4 threat. Only Gamora can remove threat from it. And after the villain phase begins, you deal an extra face-down encounter card to Gamora. So really playing into that brilliant scheme of the rivalry between Nebula and Gamora. I really like it. It also seems like a brutal side scheme that you need to get off the field as soon as you possibly can. So, we knew a fair bit about Gamora yesterday. We know a lot more about Gamora today. I adore the fact that we are now getting extra options in terms of deck building. I also should point out I love that we're getting 2 heroes in May because I love new heroes for this game. New heroes are awesome. So cheers for that, FFG. Good work, dudes. And I love the fact that you've got the rivalry of Nebula played down there. You've got the whole ally and nemesis minion and all of that playing in. And the fact that she does both things because that's kind of how Gamora works. I remain very, very excited about Gamora. I was excited yesterday. Nothing I've seen today has changed my opinion, but I'd like to know what you think, so let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts, be nice, and then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wassy Plays.